Hold on, intro. It's intro time. Shush. Everyone shut up. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Talks Too Much with Third Party Studios. Cody is out sick today. We got Slim and Talks. We are running it for you today. We got a lot of news to get into, but before we do, how you doing over there, Slim?
I'm doing pretty swell. How about yourself?
I've been doing great. I actually binge watched Star Wars: The Acolyte, so I can no longer be I can no longer be said to just be like hate mongering or
not
just
a
like
normie anymore. Huh?
I'm not a normie. I have watched the garbage, and we will talk about it. But how was your week? What have you been up to this week? What did you watch, or did you play anything?
Been pretty busy. Yeah. The wife's been sick all week, so I've been kind of holding down the fort. Just played a few video games, and I've been kind of lazy.
Your poll about Anno 1800 actually did, like, your poll about which video game to play actually like did pretty well as far as like getting votes onto it.
Yeah.
What are you thinking there? I mean, it's pretty much one vote sways that poll.
I know.
And are you settled on Anno?
Well, we'll see here. I probably will try to do something over the 4th of July weekend, but we'll see. I'm not too committed to either one quite yet, but I'll probably do an Anno one. We'll see.
I started watching Star Wars Acolyte this week.
Yeah.
And actually, basically, I just binge watched the entire 3 hours that they had like last night.
I got the 3rd episode in as well.
And I just wanted to make sure that we had what was going on. We got Colton in the chat. Thanks for being here, buddy. Love that you're here. Thank you so much. Any questions, anything you want, guys, remember that if you're here during the live streams, throw out any questions you have about any topic you want, and we'll do our best to get to it. And we really appreciate you guys being here with us. It should be a lot of fun. But I watched Star Wars Acolyte, and I also watched more South Park this week. I went back to watch South Park. Did you ever get into that show?
I've watched the first, I don't know how many seasons there are, but whenever they took it off Netflix is when I stopped. I watched through all that. Yeah, so I haven't seen it for a while.
Yeah, they had...
that was like 8 years ago.
In my mind, in my heart, the best season for South Park is probably season 16. Maybe there's an argument to be made for 17 and 18
What
also.
are they on now?
26, and they have they're doing a bunch of
I've probably seen them then.
Yeah, they're doing like a bunch of featured episodes too, where they're like 45-minute episodes.
Yep, I've seen like a few of them after they took it off. On Netflix, but it's not like consistent like I used to kind of watch all the way through all of them.
They did this thing where they kept moving between platforms because they were on HBO Max and now they're on Paramount, I think.
They're
and
on Paramount now.
Hulu for a minute. Yeah, they kept jumping around from place to place for a while, so I'm a little surprised. And yeah, man. So that's what I've been doing. I played a couple of new video games this week, trying to see some variety.
Yep.
Obviously, Speedrunners has taken a lot of my attention and time.
Looked like you guys had fun Sunday.
We did. We're probably gonna be doing that again this Sunday.
Okay.
So that should be a ton of fun. Hopefully, I think we have 3 people lined up for it right now.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Fun.
So obviously, since we've been talking about Star Wars Acolyte, that was gonna be our first story.
Yeah.
I feel. Let me just remind myself that I do feel really weird about coming back to these bigger topics.
Yeah.
It feels weird to circle back, you know?
But it is more news. And
what am I, a Biden press secretary?
Let's circle back to that.
Let's circle back, guys.
I agree, but it's more news, and like the new episode had such interesting concepts that I felt they dropped the ball.
So, yeah, actually, we should probably
my opinion.
We should set the story for people who have not seen the show yet. The Acolyte is based around these twin characters who are
Old Republic before the new or the middle trilogy. So before Anakin and Obi-Wan's story, it's before
the Clone Wars.
Yep, before the Clone Wars story.
And so it follows these two characters who are twins. They are both, I guess, blessed with the Force. And they were raised by a witch coven, and the witch coven has a different interpretation of what the Force is.
Yeah, minor spoiler alerts just here for the first 3 episodes. It's not long if you wanted to go watch that, but
no, I binge watched it pretty quickly.
Other people in the chat.
Yeah, and then but the Acolyte itself is based around those 2 characters. One of them is following the dark side, and they grow up being an absolute psychopath. And the witch mothers like really, really like encourage that. They're like, oh, you need to be a witch too. And then the other one's like, no, I really want to be a Jedi, this thing that's on the other side of the galaxy that I don't really have a really deep concept of.
Yeah.
But that's what I want. I want to abandon my entire family to go do that. Because they're like 6, you know? They know what they want.
They know what they want, yeah.
I think they were like 8. Were they 8 or 10?
There's something like that.
They were younglings.
I really liked the concept of the string or whatever they called it.
Yeah.
And like you and I discussed this last night. You would see the galaxy so huge and it's so much. How would a pocket of people who are like kind of more isolated not have Force users and then have their own religion around it? And they call it the string. And I thought it was a very interesting concept because why wouldn't that be a thing?
I think it's thread.
Thread, yes, okay. I was like, I know I'm not saying that right.
I'm not nitpicking, but I figured you'd want to know.
Yep,
I think it's thread.
Yeah, I watched it like.
But yeah. So I mean,
the thread.
If the witches who exist on the Outer Rim like understand the Force, this mechanism of power in the universe as something other than the Force, they call it something different, but the way they interact with it and it behaves is still identical. Yeah, I think that's actually probably a pretty good thing in my mind.
I think so too.
I do think they absolutely fumbled it with all the messaging they needed to enforce into it. Like first off, it totally takes away from Anakin Skywalker's story.
It's a horrible decision to decide to make them both children of the Force like Anakin. That was such a unique thing, and that's why he was the chosen one.
And so, for clarification, again, it's in the Phantom Menace when Qui-Gon Jinn is asking who was Anakin Skywalker's father. And Shmi says there was no father. That's a reference to Anakin being a Force child, being born
of the midichlorians, which was also not received that well. But now it's one of the things that it was so rare. He was a chosen one. That's why it happened.
He was Space Wizard Jesus.
Yeah, basically.
And now they did it again, but this time with twins. So it's 3 times the amount of miracle.
Yeah, and so I saw a good comparison to this. Like someone said, this is just like Order 66. The reason that was so impactful is because the 2 original who only made it was Yoda and Obi-Wan.
Right.
And now every time Disney throws in a new character, now you're at like double digit of people surviving Order 66. Order 66 doesn't even, I wouldn't say matter anymore, but it's not that catastrophic of a thing anymore. You're diluting the water.
You would have the same amount of Jedi if like the Jedi Council was just like fired.
Yeah.
It's like you're all fired, and then everyone just goes off their own merry way. You have the same amount of Jedi in all these like post Order 66 stories that they're telling. And in my mind, I think that's oversaturated.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just for complete transparency, in my mind, Star Wars is a dead brand. I look back.
Yeah.
I look back at like even the original 6 films, or let's talk about the first 3 films.
Yep.
Let's talk about A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
Are all 3 of those movies quote-unquote masterpieces? I mean, the big appeal of A New Hope was that narratively it was just a carbon copy of the hero's journey placed in a space opera. And to its credit, it was revolutionary. It was really well done.
At the time,
It was phenomenal. But like, I find a lot to dislike about even The Empire Strikes Back, and I'm gonna probably get a lot of hate for that one because The Empire Strikes Back
is really good. And I'm with you on this. I remember we did a topic on this, and I'd picked a trilogy that was my favorite, and it was Star Wars, and it was the 4, 5, 6 because I thought it was better. And then Cody asked, like, "Oh, really? Why not the original 3?" I'm like, I went back and watched them. They don't hold up as well as people probably put in their minds.
Well, and I think that to your point, it's a lot of nostalgia and a lot of like
carries those 3, I think.
What was the argument? So I saw someone else. This isn't my argument. I heard an argument on this, and I actually like just think it was a really strong argument. Someone made the case that what was your first experience watching Star Wars? What was do you remember your first experience with Star Wars? Do you remember like what it was?
Yeah, I think it was in like my father took us to the movie theaters. It might have been like The Phantom Menace.
Do you remember,
because that movie's old now?
Was your old man like into Star Wars? Was that like just something he was taking you to because he thought you'd like it, or was
he liked the original trilogy? He liked Star Wars.
So he indoctrinated you.
Yeah. Jedi.
He's a
Jedi.
It's interesting. So like I have 2 memories from my childhood of Star Wars that are significant to me. So Phantom Menace, I remember not seeing it in theaters, but I remember having a bunch of like Phantom Menace like action figures, like T-shirts, the lunchbox. I remember all that crap. And then when I was, I think a little bit older, I remember being at my grandparents' house, and a copy of Empire Strikes Back was on VHS on their movie bookshelf. And I remember turning that on and watching it and thinking, this is stupid. I hate this. This is garbage. I had no idea what was going on. I didn't understand it. But, like, I remember... So, basically, we were taught from a really young age to just be in love with Star Wars.
Yep.
I don't have a problem with that, per se. Like, your parents should teach you what, like, values to hold and stuff like that and what is good. And if they tell you that this franchise